So I'm going to show you kind of the next step with dealing with foundations and footings, and that's something called a section view. So section views can be used for lots of different things, but they can also give construction workers and those plans a little bit more detail. Because if you were just to give somebody like a floor plan, they don't know like what made up the wall. So we're going to go to your first floor plan, and we are going to use our section view. So under view, you're going to go to section, and then you're going to click and drag over what you want included. And I'll kind of show you how this changes things. So I'm going to start on this left side and click and drag across this whole like lower portion of my building, and then click again to kind of set it. So to open up our section view, we can scroll down over on the left side and go to sections and double click on it. And this is what it shows us right now. So normally section views, you don't need like the entire span of the building. You're trying to just focus in on like the walls, the floors, the footings, the roof, things like that. So we're going to shrink this down a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the first floor. And instead of going across both of these walls, I'm going to bring this in like that. And we can go back to section and see. I have to hit enter. Nope. Okay, so that didn't change anything. Nope, let's get out of that. Okay, so when you click on your section view, like if I click on this little line, you can see these dotted lines of what is like being included. So obviously it's going from this blue line all the way across to this right one. So I'm going to bring that in. And now let's go look at that section. So now we just have this one wall. Kind of the next weird thing is that it's showing us the wall, our basement wall here too is all filled in, and that's just going to make it messier. We don't need that. So again, if I click that little line, this dotted line way back there, I'm going to bring that in so that it's not getting this wall. It's kind of just focusing on a little section of this wall. That looks a lot better. So the next thing that is a little messy here is all of these texts. They're going to really get in the way later. So if you click on one of these, let me start over here. There's this little checkbox that says hide bubble. So we're going to click that to turn it off, because we're going to add in labels differently. So I'm going to turn off. There it is. All of those. So our section view is kind of just what is inside of this box, and we can zoom in, and yours might look a little different. It might look more like this with these thick lines, which is going to cover up a lot of detail. So if you go to view and you can click thin lines, and that'll help bring some of our detail back. And then we also want to go down here to this detail level and go fine. So now we can see some of those levels and layers of our floor and our walls that we created. I'm going to hide this thing. All right, so we're going to make this a little bit easier to look at and understand by adding some colors and lines and things like that. So let's start with our wall. First, I'm going to click my wall. So it says basic wall at 2x6 that we created. And I'm going to go edit type. So I'm going to edit. So we've already changed some of the coloring in here with some things, but we're going to change it a little bit more to make it easier to look at. So with our horizontal wood siding, I'm going to click the three little dots. And so we set the color that shows up here for rendering, for shading, but we want to go into this cut pattern in the foreground. So right now there is no pattern. I want to give it a color. So I'm going to do a solid fill. And this is that cedar color, so I'm going to do like a brown and hit OK and apply OK. So if we click OK on this and apply and OK, you can see what it did here. It added a little brown layer level to this wall. So we have our siding. So if we go back in here and edit, so our membrane layer, air filtration barrier, there is no thickness to that, so we're just going to leave that. But our plywood sheathing, we're going to give this a plywood pattern. So if you scroll down, there is plywood. So there's actually this specific pattern that is used for designating that it's plywood. We'll hit OK and apply. OK. So next we have softwood lumber. We're just going to keep that the same. So that's that bigger area, our 2x6 in there. And then our gypsum wallboard, we're going to edit this and give it, instead of just sand, because it kind of blends in and it's so thin, we're going to do a solid again and do a gray. And apply an OK through all those. And there is our new wall. So it makes it a little easier to see the different aspects of it, and we're going to label it too. So now we're going to go to our floor. And we're going to give some colors and things in here too. So we're going to go to edit. Our oak flooring, let's give that like an oak or wood color. So right now it has this diagonal down, but it's really hard to see that in our actual section view. So again, I'm going to make it a solid. And let's do a lighter brown maybe. Sure. So our plywood, because we change the material in our walls, and this is that exact same material, it already did that pattern there. So we're good there. So we're going to hit OK, apply OK. And now you can see our plywood, that middle layer on both of these, right underneath that colored layer, has the same pattern on it. All right, so another thing we're going to do here is actually add a basement floor, because we don't have a floor. We have an 8-foot space here that's big enough for a basement, but really with these footings, then it's just dirt. So not very helpful for a basement. So we're going to go to our top of footings level floor plan, and we're going to go to architecture, floor, and we're going to do a generic 12-inch. This is just going to be concrete. We're going to actually, yeah, we'll just leave that as that. So a 12-inch concrete floor. And I'm going to go around, get all my walls. Yep, we want it on the outside. Oh, I got some intersecting. I didn't see where. Let's see, there we go. So now we got a floor there. So if we go back to our section, it actually added in this floor. So for our floor, we're going to make this a concrete floor. So we're going to go edit type, edit. Right now it just is basic, but we're just going to make this a concrete floor. All right, concrete cast in place gray. Apply, okay, apply, okay. All right, so now with this floor, we have all these extra lines here. If we were to actually make this, it would be a little bit more seamless. So there'd be some lines there with the different pourings, but it wouldn't look so cluttered. So what we're going to do is join these different lines. So if you go to annotate and we'll click on the floor, there we go. So you're going to click on the floor and then click join and click So we want to clean up these lines here because normally it just looks really messy, or wouldn't be like overlapping concrete that kind of just merge together. So I'm going to click on my floor here, and I can click join, and I can click the footing in the wall, just kind of clicking in here, and it should, there we go, kind of cleared up all those lines. So now we just have this nice solid concrete thing happening here. So with our floor, we don't want our floor to be at the same height of our footings here, which is what's going to happen if we leave it right now. So we're going to change this height offset. I think we want 8 inches. Let's see. Floor roof overlaps. Would you like to join geometry and cut the overlapping? Let's do no right now. So 8 inches, not far enough. Let's do 10. Do 12. There we go. So now that floor is on top of our footing, so that footing is still supporting everything. So we're going to kind of clean up some of these lines here. We want this floor to actually be concrete. And actually 12 inches might be a little much. So we're going to actually edit this and duplicate it. So let's just do a 4-inch slab. We're going to edit this. We're going to make this concrete cast in place. Concrete, okay, okay, okay. Oh, we didn't edit how thick it is. That might be helpful to make it not a foot thick. 4 inches. There we go. So my height offset, we'll do 4 inches. There we go. So now our floor is on top of our footing. We're going to join together some of this geometry of these lines. So I just clicked on my floor, and I'm going to click join. I'm going to click my wall and that floor. I'm going to click the floor and the footing. There we go. It's getting nice and cleaned up there. So now we're going to add a little bit more detail to some things, because normally when you are constructing a building, it's not going to go straight from concrete to your outside wall, your wall to your floor. There's extra things in between. We're not going to get into a lot of detail, but I'm just going to show you the basics of how to add some of that detail. It could be a lot more that it would look like. Actually, here are some examples from just Google search of wall details. So you can see even here on this picture, all the extra detail. We're going to add some of these labels in here, but there is just a bunch of extra things. This is like rebar in the concrete, extra grout in the cavities, things like that, just depending on the type of system you have going on. Depends on what it looks like. Ours is not going to get this complicated for us today. But just to give you an idea of what actual ones look like. Usually there's a lot of extra call outs, lots of details in here. I'm just going to show you how to add a couple of these today. So first we're going to add some of our extra wood framing that would go in here. So we're going to go to Insert, Load Family. So if I go back to my US Imperial here, we're going into our detail items. And then these are split up by different categories. So we're going to be adding in some of our wood framing that would go like the opposite way of what we're seeing. So we're going to go to wood and plastic, wood framing, nominal cut lumber section. So this is how it'll look on our section view. So we're going to click open, and we're going to need a 2x6 and a 2x10. So I'm going to click 2x6 and then hold my control key and click 2x10. We don't want to bring all these in. It'll actually give you an error that you're bringing in too much and it's going to fill up memory space. So just 2x6 and 2x10 is what we're going to need. So then to find these, so just like with our other things that we bring in down in families, we're going to go to detail items. And there were some already in here, but we're going to go to our nominal cut lumber, our 2x10. So I'm going to click and drag it out. So this would go between the wall and the floor, right in here. So I'm going to plop that in. So there is lumber that would go like the other direction. And then 2x6, we're going to have to separate. If you hit the space key, it rotates it from the wall, the concrete wall, to our wood wall. It would be like an extra piece of wood through there to attach everything to. And sometimes they do double, like a double header type system, but we'll just plop our one in there. So another thing that would be in a wall especially is insulation. So there, right now it doesn't look like there's any insulation. If someone were to look at this drawing, they would just think that it's open space between our wall, our 2x6 studs. So we're going to go to Annotate, and there's actually this insulation button. So this little squiggly line there is what insulation looks like. So that's how you designate it on a drawing. So I'm going to get rid of that. So we need to set our width. So our width of this cavity in here is 5.5. And this is going to go from that little lumber that we brought in. And we're going to bring it all the way up. So now we have insulation in our wall. So another thing that would happen with our footing and probably also our slab foundation is having gravel underneath of it. It helps just with making sure things stay stable, things like that. So we're going to add some gravel to underneath this concrete. So we're going to go to Annotate, and we can add regions. So this is going to be a filled region. So we're going to start with the part right underneath our footing here. So I'm going to click the endpoint. Let's make it 1 foot of gravel. So I'm just making a little square here. And I'm going to click the check mark. So now it put in this diagonal crosshatch. That doesn't really represent gravel very well. So we're going to go to Edit Type. There's not one in there. We're going to duplicate this and call it gravel. We'll call it gravel fill. And set up a diagonal crosshatch. We're going to do, there is a sand dense. So that looks more like gravel to me. We're going to hit OK. And OK. And there is our dense gravel. So we're also going to add some gravel underneath of our slab here. So we're going to go to Region, and we'll fill that in this. We'll just do like a 6-inch gravel through here. Maybe make it kind of an angle in there to connect that gravel, because if I were to trench this out, that's probably what it would be like. And again, instead of filled region, we're going to go gravel fill. And there is that same gravel we made from before. Let's join this symmetry here, or join this geometry. So I clicked on that newest gravel. I'm going to click join. Maybe I'll click this one, join. No, okay. So, can't do that. That's okay. Maybe this looks really similar to the concrete. So actually, let's background fill. What if we did a solid and a gray? That looks better. So now it looks more different. So for this, I changed the background. So the background fill is a solid fill, and then I did a gray. I still kept our sand dents and that being black, just to make it look a little different than that concrete. All right, so another thing that is usually with a foundation is called a drain tile. So what that looks like, so here is a good picture of kind of what a drain tile and another detail view here. So it is a pipe that has like holes in it, and sometimes it can even be connected like your sump pump in your basement. That is on the outside of the foundation. That is also in some gravel. We'll skip that for right now, but I'll show you how to draw a circle, little designation here. And it basically helps keep extra water away from your foundation. So we're going to add a little drain pipe out here, and maybe we will just add a little bit of gravel on the outside here too. So that was under annotate region, filled region. Just kind of encase our footing in gravel. There we go. So now we can, add in our drain pipe in here. So we are going to go to detail line. And now we have some of our drawing tools. We have a circle here. And I'm just going to kind of go in the middle. I'm going to do a 4-inch circle. Maybe instead of thin line, we're going to try medium. I don't think it did that medium. Maybe we need it thick. All right, so we're going to do a filled region again. So now that we have our gravel all around, we are going to add in our drain tile using a filled region. So that way we can make it stand out a little bit more, just make it solid white. So filled region, and this time we're going to use a circle. We're just going to place it in here. We're going to do a 4-inch drain pipe. And this is just going to be solid black, sure. There we go. So there is our drain pipe. All right, so that's all the little like detail-y things I'm going to show you. So next is just adding in some labels. So because if somebody were to look at this, they're not going to know what everything is. And actually, this is actually a little big to even add labels, but it'll work for what we're doing. Normally you would do a call out. So under view is this call out where we would be able to do like a smaller view of something. So I could make a call out here, and then that would tell them to go to this specific call out that is, ooh, there we go. So then that gives it a little bit more detail. It'd be more zoomed in basically, but we're not going to worry about that right now. But that's what that is. So I'm actually going to delete that call out. Okay, so we're going to add in a few labels here. So we'll just do our wall and some of the foundation stuff. So we want somebody that looks at this to know what each of these little layers of our wall are. So we're going to go to Annotate and Text. Yes, I'm going to save. And instead of 1/4 inch Arial, that's pretty big, we're going to do 3/32. And I'm going to start on the outside. So I'm going to click on the brown. So this is our wood siding. And it is still very big, but once you get it typed out, you can move things around a little bit. So we want to keep everything kind of in line. So I'm probably going to want to put this up at the top. So next is that plywood sheathing. So I'm going to try and get right in there. Tight. And normally you'd probably even give more details like this. Instead of plywood sheathing, it'd probably be 1/2 inch plywood sheathing. You want to give it as much detail as possible. If there's like a specific type of wood siding, things like that, you'd give a lot of detail. So next we have our insulation. So this is our 5.5 inch insulation. And that's inside of our 2x6 framing. And then on the very outside or inside is our 1/2 inch gypsum board or sheetrock. More common term. You would do this exact same thing also on your floor, these extra wood joists, things like that. Maybe we'll just label this as first floor. And so this is our foundation / basement wall. Down here we have our footing. And what was the size of that? So if you don't remember any of your details, you can also like go back in. Let me look at 3D maybe. So 36 by 12 inch footing. And you want to try and keep, like, you don't want your words like going over on top of things. You want them kind of off on the side not blocking things. You don't want lines like crossing each other. So like I wouldn't want this way up here. That just gets really messy. All right, so let's label that drain tile. So that was a 4-inch drain tile. And then we'll just do our, oops, that's going the wrong way. Gravel fill. All right, so that is our section view. So let's go to our sheets, and we're going to create a new sheet. Let's load up our title block, our B, and with our section views, you can drag them into sheets just like before. So this one is pretty small. Let's see here, our scale, we can make it a little bit bigger here. So let's try 1/4 inches a foot. That's not too bad. So we're going to put in our name. Project is footings and foundations demo. We'll just call this section or wall section view, not section view. So that I'm not going to make you do all the other sheets of what this project would be, because we're just really focusing on this, and I just wanted to show you how to bring that in. So you're going to just turn in this one sheet. So you'll go up to File, Print. Instead of an actual printer, you're going to want to make sure it is on Print to PDF. Our selected views or sheets, we want to be just that one sheet. There's only one sheet, so you don't need to combine anything. You'll hit OK. Yes. Just make sure you know where it's saving to. If it's your desktop, your documents, what do you call it? Foundations, section view, whatever you want to call it. And then that's what you're going to turn in on Schoology.